And this is the month of the Sacred Heart and the Feast of the Sacred Heart. But where did these devotions all begin? So we're going to take a little journey back in time to the late Middle Ages, and in the writings of the great Saint Gertrude the Great, we see there already mentioned devotion to the Sacred Heart. And the first time it was celebrated within France was by Saint John Eudes. But the saint who is the most associated with this devotion is, of course, Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque. And she was a visitation nun. Now, the significance of Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque is that she told the King of France that he needed to dedicate France to the Sacred Heart in order to prevent the revolution. Well, he did not, and exactly 100 years later, the Reign of Terror began. So perhaps all of that could have been avoided, and perhaps it also explains the enmity, the hatred we see for the month of the Sacred Heart. Now let's take a brief look at the story of Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque. Well, she was born in 1647, and already at the age of just 2 or 3 years old, a tiny tot, she had developed this horror of sin already. And then later on, when she was just 8 years old, her father and her aunt died. And so she was now handed over to the visitation nuns for them to take care of. And there the seeds of her future vocation were planted. But some years later, she now became ill, and so she was sent back to her home to be taken care of there. She did not recover until finally a promise was made dedicating her to Our Lady, to be one of the daughters of Our Lady. And after that she recovered. After which Margaret Mary began practicing some pretty severe mortifications. And she cleared her soul out, we could say, until finally she began to see our Lord Jesus Christ himself. And here we can remember the words of our Lord: "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God." But incredibly, Margaret Mary thought this was just absolutely normal, and that everyone else saw our Lord like she did. Well, sometime later, her mother began encouraging her that she needed to start thinking about getting married. So Margaret Mary began socializing, meeting other people, and she went to a ball. But when she returned from the ball, our Lord Jesus Christ was there to meet her, and he did not look very happy, and asked her, had she forgotten the vow she had made when she was still very young? It was obviously a vow dedicating herself of perpetual virginity to Christ himself. And so things changed from then on. And 2 or 3 years later, she now entered the community of the Visitation Nuns of Paris. And there she received the habit. And when she received the habit, our Lord Jesus Christ once again appeared to her and told her that they are now betrothed. And with this, these incredible spiritual consolations flowed. They were palpable to others. But it wasn't always like this. It wasn't always a bed of roses. And so next followed a time of pretty severe trials and humiliations for her. And although she was already at a pretty advanced level, she was able to see our Lord Jesus Christ in meditation and contemplation. And yet, when she had to practice meditation with the other novices, they deemed her unfit for this. She just couldn't seem to manage it. And so instead, she was sent off now to clean some other part of the church, somewhere in the choir. And this happened every time. So she was just deemed a failure at meditation, one of the greatest mystics of our time. Next, she was assigned now to go and help in the infirmary, in the little hospital, we could say, in the monastery, in the convent. And there she was equally unfit, because she would just continue her conversation with her spouse, our Lord Jesus Christ, and she would be unable to perform these duties as the infirmarian. And then finally, the biggest humiliation came to her, because the other novices, they were now ready and they were due to make their final vows, and there was this retreat going on. During the retreat, Margaret Mary instead was sent outside to go and take care of some animals there. So it's a pretty huge humiliation for her, but eventually she did get to make her vows. And when she made her vows, our Lord Jesus Christ again appeared to her and said, "Up to this moment I have been your fiancé, and however I shall be your spouse from now on." So imagine that. It must be almost unique throughout history, our Lord saying he is the spouse of someone. Certainly it wasn't an easy path that she had to walk up to this point. Now there are two other very significant revelations that occurred to Margaret Mary. We'll just briefly run over those. And the first one is in December 1673. Once again, our Lord Jesus Christ appeared to her and said, "My divine heart is so passionately in love with mankind that it can no longer contain in itself the flames of this ardent charity. And I must pour this out by thy means," he said, "and I must manifest it and pour itself to enrich all people with graces which they need to be saved." And then he added, "I have chosen thee, Margaret Mary, as an abyss of unworthiness and ignorance in order to accomplish this great design." The reason being that he chosen her was that so that all may be done by me, by Christ himself. And then he demanded her, "Give me your heart." And I supplicated him, she said, "Take it." So he did so, and he put it into his own adorable heart. This is in some mystical vision. And in this, he allowed me to see her heart as just a little atom within his incredible heart, being consumed by that fiery furnace of charity. And then our Lord drew it out as a flame in the form of a heart, and he put it back in the place from whence it had come. And our Lord Jesus Christ said, "Behold, my beloved, a precious proof of my love. I place in your heart just a little spark," he said, "of the most ardent flame of my love." So imagine the immensity of his love. And this was going to serve thee, he said, that little spark, as your heart, to consume thee until the last moments. And after this, she had the invisible wound of the stigmata in her side. So this had been given to her as well, just like with Padre Pio. And then the second significant apparition she had, which relates to us all, of course, Christ appeared to her. This time he was angry, as an outraged spouse. And so she said, "Jesus Christ, my sweet master, appeared to me, and he was brilliant in his glory. And all 5 of his wounds, they shone like suns, and flames darted forth from all parts of his sacred humanity. But especially," she said, these flames came from his adorable breast, which resembled a furnace," she said, "and which opened, displaying to me his loving and amiable heart, the living source of these flames. And he unfolded to me the wonders of his pure love, to what an excess he had carried it for the love of men, and from whom he had received only ingratitude in return. And this," he said, "is much more painful to me, this ingratitude, than all I suffered in my passion. If men rendered me some return of love," he said, "I should count as little all I have done for them, and if it were possible I should just do it all over again. But instead they meet my eager love with coldness, with indifference, and with rebuffs." And then he asked her, "Do you at least wish to console and make me rejoice by supplying as much as you can for their ingratitude?" Margaret Mary just claimed that she didn't have the ability to fulfill these requests. To which Christ responded, "Fear not, behold, here is the worth to fulfill all that is wanting to thee. And then Christ opened again his heart, and a flame came forth and enveloped her, consumed the visionary. That's all we have time for today. So do join us next time as we look more at the Sacred Heart and how she received the crown of thorns as well, the stigmata of the crown of thorns. And we ask you, do join this apostolate. You're welcome to subscribe to this channel, absolutely free, and you're welcome to leave your comments as well below the videos, share the videos with others. And once again, we wish to thank especially the donors who make all of these videos possible for all of us. We do thank you for watching.